In recent days, we have seen a significant increase in the number of COVID-19 cases arising from a new cluster at the Jurong Fishery Port. It has also spread to several markets in the community, which are frequented by seniors.
1,025 cases as of July 31st and counting. In order to break the chain of transmission, Jurong Fishery Port was closed to the public from July 17th to July 31st. Cited as the cause of a return to Phase 2 heightened alert, this setback has seen Singapore return to stricter social distancing measures. For fishmongers who have had close contact with infected persons at Jurong Fishery Port, they have been forced to shut their stalls. Others selling fresh fish and seafood at wet markets had to obtain a negative PCR test result before resuming operations.
生意是多多少少会受影响啦。然后我们本身开档的人都不敢买多，打底50%少50%，只卖5、6样鱼而已，卖越少鱼越难卖，因为没有的选择嘛。
Wet markets and hawker centres across the island have had to reinstate mandatory trace-together check-in requirements amid investigations to identify hidden COVID-19 cases. Here's how the virus could have given us the slip. Infections were likely picked up from Indonesian or other fishing boats that brought fish into the port, according to Singapore's Director of Medical Services, Kenneth Mark. Around 5 to 6 boats arrive a day, carrying roughly 10 boatmen each. Before they enter the port, the boatmen have to show their passports to immigration officers, produce a negative ART test result, and get their temperature taken. Their goods are scanned to make sure they don't bring illicit substances in. A preliminary review by the authorities to determine how transmission could have occurred identified some areas for improvement.
First, the humid and laborious environment made it uncomfortable for workers to wear their masks for a prolonged period of time. This meant a higher propensity for workers to adjust their masks or take them off momentarily. Second, the workers could have taken off their masks while they take their breaks, smoking breaks for example, and socialize in close proximity. Third, JFP being a marketplace meant that the workers and traders mix freely throughout the facilities.
The virus could also have been spread through contaminated surfaces and at the stalls. At least one COVID-19 patient who worked at the Jurong Fishery Port frequented a KTV lounge, which has also been a source of infections. But according to the authorities, there is no evidence to suggest that transmission occurred through contaminated fish. The first group of cases linked to the cluster are of the more infectious Delta variant, with similar features to those seen in imported cases from Indonesia.
The phylogenetic tests also suggest that the clusters linked to the fisheries port and the wet markets may not have been due to a single point of introduction of infection. Indeed, exposure may have occurred over a period of time with multiple points of injection of infection.
But why is the Jurong Fishery Port cluster of particular concern? For a start, it handles about 30% of Singapore's seafood imports, including those that arrive by land and air. That's nearly a third of the 124,000 tons of fish and other seafood we consumed in 2020. This works out to about 16 kilograms of fish consumed by each person in Singapore annually. This means that about 5 kilograms of that amount comes through the Jurong Fishery Port. But you probably won't feel much difference despite the port's 2-week closure. We consume less fish than other types of meats in a year, such as pork and chicken. Singapore's other port, Jurong Fishery Port, handles a small amount of seafood imports, while the rest go directly to the warehouses of merchants and retailers. To minimize the impact on our seafood supply, seafood imports are now sent directly to the distribution centres of major retailers such as FairPrice. Merchants at Jurong Fishery Port are also ramping up imports of chilled and frozen seafood. On July 21st, following long queues at wet markets and supermarkets after the port closure, Ms. Fu reassured shoppers that local seafood supply was sufficient.
There may be short-term disruptions to some of our supply, especially chilled seafood, but we have ample supply and stock of frozen seafood. So I urge members of public to widen your choices, and including widening where you will buy your seafood, so that we can have sufficient supply for all Singaporeans.
Around 60% of imports from Jurong Fishery Port are chilled fish, while frozen fish and chilled crustaceans account for another 20%. Enhanced COVID-19 measures have since been put in place at Singapore's 2 fishery ports. Only authorized entry pass holders can enter, and they have to sign a health declaration form and show a negative COVID-19 test result before they can do so. Foreign delivery drivers also have to remain in their vehicles while they clear check-in requirements.
Overall, we have seen a high number of daily cases at over 100 for the past several days. But the situation is stabilizing, with daily infections trending down. Percentage of cases isolated or quarantined before turning COVID-19 positive is something we watch closely, and it is on an upward trend, which is good.
In the wake of this outbreak, the need to be vigilant is clear, even as Singapore works towards higher vaccination rates.
现在是今天看情形是还好一点啊，不过还是不敢冲啊，不敢冲啊，因为你看今天星期二的状况到现在，远远还是可以看到没有人潮。就说希望啊，这个疫情啊，大家注意点卫生啊，就说每个人都注意点啊，因为现在这个疫情蛮严重的，对。
If we can keep raising that percentage through tracing and testing, we can progressively suppress this wave of transmission.